concept that the African people and nation shall overcome the current challenges confronting the continent and achieve cultural, scientific, and economic renewal is here, with young men and women taking the lead. Some call them the new school heroes. We call them Under 40 CEOs.
Under 40 CEOs presents his Ghana Forum in Accra. Theme: Building, Running and Sustaining a Business in Ghana. Under 40 CEOs Ghana Forum in Accra.
A lot of people haven't had, everybody knows everybody and everybody has a lot of experiences. But you know, my experience with Farida is the best. Some of it she doesn't remember. I used to play with her when she was like a baby. She used to hold on to my legs. So I get to know that, you know, I'm still under 40, by the way. I'm still under 40. Okay, this entrepreneurship journey is a wonderful one. By the way, Bola, we started a conversation 5th of January, and we're supposed to collaborate. So when I heard you talking about collaboration, 5th of January, we're almost in December. Thank you. So we're on this journey. How many of you know that entrepreneurship for me is a journey? It has a destination maybe at a point, but for me it's a journey. I started this journey on the 3rd of August 1998. So 20 years, going into my 20th year now. Now I started it in my father's living room with only 30 Ghana cedis, 300 cedis, and some debt. Like he said, radioactive material. I had a lot of disease debt, but at that time it was one of those kinds of debts that you borrow from people who then come and stand at your gate and clap. I don't know whether you've experienced that kind of debt before. That was that kind of debt. It was at that time. It wasn't a bank. It was people that had borrowed from to buy a trolley of rollers, and another person that had borrowed from. And they would come because I hadn't had a client for 2 months and I wasn't able to pay back my debt that I promised to pay in a week. So they would come and clap and say, hey, how many of you have been hooted at before? It was all part of my journey at the time. And that was sometime in October 98. I was still working. I was working in finance and banking, and my salary was just to live a lifestyle and try and start a business. So what am I going to talk to you about today? Just 6 key points, and I'll be very quick. And what I want to share is really my lessons and my learnings. The focus, what's happening here? Did I do something? Okay, what am I? My lessons and my learnings, and a lot of them have come from the pit. So I know you've heard about business, the story, how you started, the successes. I know you've heard about how to build structure. But I'm going to tell a little bit of stories from the pit, because this is what I've learned. Hopefully you can take the right path and then maybe circumvent some of the journeys that we took. That's what lessons help you do. 3 key areas here: build, run, and sustain. And in every area, I just have two key points, and then we're done. The first thing I want to remind you is the you factor. Thank you. Can you help me with that? Because I'm not doing too well. This is in your build stage. Always remember this, that your business will never stop when they say they are out. It will only stop when you are out. Meaning that you are the one who gives breath to your business. At a time when I had a big business failure, and I was at near bankruptcy, just like he said, and I was about to give up. And a friend, all the way in Kumasi, told me, he said, you know, everybody can leave you. Your team members, your friends, everybody can leave you. But the important thing is they are not Alio. You are Alio. So once you are alive and you have life, you could breathe Alio back to life. So don't ever think that the end of a problem in your business is the end of your business. As long as you have life, you can breathe it back again. Whenever staff or team members are walking away from you, and I want to say this with the most heartfelt thing at your build stage, because your build stage for some people can be 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. One of the key things I want to say is that at your build stage, A lot of times we depend on our teams a lot. I love my team members. Everybody will tell you they inspire me, they drive me. But at the same time, I've gotten to a point where I realize that your team member can walk away at any time. You could have been asleep in bed and I just get a WhatsApp. Mrs. D, there's an issue. I'm sorry, I have to follow my husband to this place, and that's the end of somebody you've invested training, time, effort. I used to train my staff outside the country. I would fly them out for training. I would fly trainers in. You invest, because the standards of my business at that time were global standards. Still global standards, what am I talking at the time, even higher. But you know, you were being basically assessed based on a global SPA. So your team, you don't have a choice. So you keep investing. And once you invest, you walk away. The next day you hear another one has mushroomed around the corner from you. Another one has mushroomed in this place. So people come. I walk into work and I see staff taking pictures. So people come and work for you for 3 or 4 months and then walk away. People who have stayed with you for 5 years, you've developed, they walk away. I have people who have told me, if I leave H.E.L.P, where will I go? This is my home. Once they tell you that, next minute, they are gone. So whenever you hear people showing you loyalty and love, the moment they come to you and they tell you, I appreciate you, thank you for all you have been doing for me. Thank you. It's a bye-bye. So whenever the day you see those warm hugs, people would always be people and they would always be human. And I don't want us to get to a stage. Initially, it used to affect me. I'm a human being. And it used to get to me because you see, you really show those people love from the bottom of your heart. And a lot of times, you have to also remember that somebody also showed you love. But these people have dreams. Sometimes, a lot of times, we have to realize that not all of us come from places and spaces of appreciation. I was looking at Farida and Ehi today. And I remembered some of my teams. I don't have all sob stories. I have team members who have been with me for 15 years before they left. So I have people who have helped set up when they left. But then majority of people who would come are transient. And you must accept that. Because the reason why they come is to learn, take, and build. And you have to get to a stage that when you are a pillar, that's what people will come for. Now I have chosen to position myself as the person who has a legacy of people who have come through H.E.L.P. Say, I have trained hundreds and thousands. So I'm calling myself someone who has given rather than people who have taken from me. Because without that position, I would struggle. So I changed my thinking and I changed my position. And the most important thing I chose to remember, that no matter how many people walk away from you, you can breathe life and resuscitate that business back to life. Believe that and you will be a successful entrepreneur. The second thing is the model of your business is built on the model of a personality. And then your clients are in position. And let me tell you, I got the first part right, the second part wrong. Let me just explain something. Farida talked about solving problems. The reason why I got into my business, the reason why, I came from a finance background, investment banking, retail banking, doing consulting. That's where I was. But I'd always been passionate over the years because I had experience many years ago, in somewhere in 1977, some of you probably were not born, but where my mother, was advised wrongly by someone, and as a result of that, she suffered a bad skin disorder. My mother used to be one of those people that we walk with my dad and everybody fell in love with her, and then all of a sudden she goes through, somebody advised her, she put a product on her skin. Long story short, it destroyed her skin. So I had to live that life, grow up with a mother who had gone through this process. So it became a passion that I would make sure that I would educate people, help people, so it was something that I was doing on the side. Then I decided to take it up as a business. So I had a focus. The model of the business was my mother. It was, so remember that a lot of times when you have a problem to solve, that model you are going to design, make sure that that model becomes a personality to you so you can focus on that model. Because if you are not careful, you would shift away from why you set up the business in the first place. A lot of times as young entrepreneurs, we start with why. But then when we start with why, because of cash, because of reasons, because of issues, because of problems, we lose the why. The model was my mother, so I kept that in focus. One side of it is the client side, where I could have taken advantage of multiple parts of the market. Because when I set up as a high-end business, serving high and medium end. But then I had to have remembered, and I'm helping somebody here, that you see, aside from the high and middle end business, there are customers who, even though my mother came from, let's say, a middle class family, what happened to my mother could happen to anybody. Therefore, the mass market was also available for that business. So every time you're looking, you have a model, make sure you find the various positions in the market. I remember many people talk to me and ask me, why are you not looking at the mass market? I'm like, wow, if I go there, because I was working so closely, my model was focused on the corporate business. Currently, 80% of my business is corporates. I do a lot of work with corporates and top executives and so on. And I still do work with the average person. But if you identify your why, identify the person that is your why, identify the need of your why, and identify that need and say to yourself, with this why, which market does it go to most? Will the person be in mass? Will the person be? I didn't touch the mass market. Of course, when you don't touch it, others do what? Come in and take it. As a young entrepreneur, look at your customer positioning very well and align it. But the key thing is, don't take your mind, thoughts, and eye off your why. My why has always been my mother. She's the model that drives my business. And because of that, I always remember not to let anybody go through that again. So keep your model as your personality. Now, those are the two things when you're growing your business. Now, when you're running your business, what are the two key things you need to, oh, I keep forgetting. First thing you need to do is your tribe. I know you've been talked to about a lot of things here. There are two types of businesses. One can grow into the other. I know under 40 businesses here. For me, when I began to run my business, I realized that there was a lot of what I call humanity. There are two kinds of people that follow you. First, you have your tribe that is driven by humanity, meaning that you have a human story, you have pain, you have problems, and people can relate to you by that. And you can get a tribe, a following, your authenticity, how real you are, how naked you are. People buy that from you. Organizations move out of that and they focus on communities. They grow bigger. Okay, you have to know which one your tribe is. And let me share something key with you at this point. I want to talk a little bit about social media when it comes to here. There are two types of people you would have. You would have people who follow you and like you for fame. And there are people who follow you and like you for finance. So many people who follow you will not buy from you. They are your fame followers. Actually, there are statistics now that actually show that in some businesses, up to 80% of the people who follow them, give them likes, support them, admire them, but don't buy from them. Only 20% buy from you. So know who your tribe is. And if your tribe is for fame, then build things that will get you more likes. But if you are selling, and you know there's a lot that you can sell to the right tribe. If you're going to, I don't want to get into all the nuggets, but the key thing is, your number of likes actually is not tantamount to what is in your pocket. Be truthful. So you have to make sure that you create that balance. For me, I came to realize that I was the kind of person that loved to help people. And if I help people, that doesn't mean that the person is necessarily going to pay me. But trust me, sometimes people who are watching your page may not necessarily give you enough likes in a day are the people who actually pay for your product. They are just watching. You have to look to your right and look to your left and tell them somebody's always watching you. Somebody's watching to buy you, somebody's watching to buy from you. But they are not the people who are necessarily following you. So don't count your likes and say, wow, my product is popular. It will make you too complacent. Actually, you may be popular for fame, but financially, you are not doing well. Be careful. The number of likes is not what translates, but is the person that is watching what you're doing that is going to pay for what you have. This is an area I also want to talk about. A lot of us don't like to talk about it, but it's true. On the journey, there'll be failure. And they've talked about it in different ways. But on the journey, there'll be failure. But when failure strikes in your small business, your entrepreneurship business, there's something that I used and I want to share. I told you I started from a consulting and a finance background. When I had an issue in my business many years ago, things went wrong. I expanded really fast. And then I began to lose major amounts of money. And my business began to struggle. I came to work one morning and I told my team, I'm going to spend 30% of my time here. I'm going to be here, but I need to refinance this business. And you know what? I went back into the market and I worked. And I used that money to come and pay back my debt and rebuild my business. I was not afraid to beg. I was not afraid to now become an employee again. A lot of times you forget that you've been an employee before. What we do is that we just take that knowledge and say we want to stay as entrepreneurs. I went back and I worked for 2-3 different companies. The same way, remember when you were working for that company and you started your business, you can go back, make your business part-time and make somebody's company full-time. I had the expertise. People needed it. I gave it to them. I worked as a consultant, got paid for it, and brought the money back into the business. As an entrepreneur, you may derail. And don't ever be afraid of begging or being humble or lowering yourself. Listen, you are actually more respected for having that knowledge and power and authority to be humble. You're actually more respected in your humility and in your begging than the other way around. So when I left, everybody was wondering, how would you do that? And every morning I would come, get everybody started, we'll do a huddle, talk to them, set up things for the day, then I'll go to my real job. I get there, have my meetings, I would travel around the world for my clients, do deals for them, take my money. I did that for a couple of years to turn my business around. Because without that kind of financing, there was no way my business was bouncing back. Your team won't do it. Others won't do it for you. Do it for yourself, unless you don't want your business to survive. Sometimes in time you need to be creative. I call it creative failure financing. Use that, work, and bring it back. After a while, you would understand that your business can take off again. And trust me, it came back based on what I did. And did it kill me? No. Working 15-20 hours a day, did it kill me? No. Open in the morning, go and see to other jobs, and you are working for others. One person that I worked for was way younger than me, but you know what? He was way more financially able at that time than me. And he was willing to give me a job, and he was willing to hire me, not because I wasn't good, but I used my expertise and I was able to build. So during your growth stage, you will derail, but remember, be creative. If you have to go out there and work, do it. If you, like I said, sometimes he was talking about borrowing, and I was laughing, because that's the where we default to. Can we go and borrow? Can we go and find other ways? But trust me, there are more better ways to bring your business back, such as working for somebody else and coming back to your business. Now, to sustain your business, there's 2 key points, and we are done. First point is open up. I think I have a friend, a very good friend, actually the one who called me about Fab yesterday, and I love her model. And I think that whilst people are talking about upward partnerships, I like to talk about downward partnerships. Those kind of partnerships build. If I look back now, I think that there are a lot more partnerships in the future of some of you all here. What am I talking about? When I set up H.E.L.P, and I started growing, and I started developing my teams, a lot of people came to me to help them. It's very typical and very cultural in Ghana to help others without making anything from it. So I help many other people set up their business. But you know, I have a friend, and I admire her model a lot, Tara, in Nigeria. What she did was, she took each person that came to her for help, or that came to her for business help, and made it like a franchise of her business. So she started maybe with one person. I've seen many other people do it around the world. So I start my business, I'm building H.E.L.P, I'm growing, I'm doing well. You come to me, you want to set up the same kind of business. I may not have to put my brand on your name. You can put Kweku on your name. But I will help you put every structure in place, because I know it, I'm seasoned. I'll do the whole spa setup for you. I'll do the whole business. You would set up, and then I'll probably take a small equity in your business. Or I would franchise, I'll do a deal with you. If I look back now, and I look at the number of people that have come through, and the number of people that have walked in to ask for my help, if I had franchised even 50%, I'm telling you that I'll be laughing all the way to Guatemala. I'm telling you. But what we do around here is, and I can tell you the number of people, I walked them through the entire process, actually created books and models for people to just take for free. How to set up a lifestyle business, how to set up a spa salon, and I was giving it out because I was doing corporate social responsibility. But around the world, other ways to make money are that people either franchise, or what we call, they partner downwards, meaning that you have a friend who wants to do what you want to do. Don't take it as they are stealing from you. Take it as what you want to do. Oh, really? Because you know what? Even if you don't help them, they'll go and do it anyway. So why don't you help them and take a piece of it? By the time you realize you are the champion in the market and there are mushrooms, every interest in your industry, you own it. So I'm giving you this idea that as you start, don't only look for partners up, but look for partners to your side. Look for partners downwards, and look for partners who can grow and move forward with you. Finally, somebody asked me this thing, and I talk about it all the time. I cannot end any conversation because, you know, I'm in the lifestyle business. This is what I do on a daily basis. This is what I work with corporates with as a coach, high performance coach. But one of the things people talk about is how can you be a force to reckon with in the business. Key thing, I tell people the ABC: appear, behave, and communicate your brand. If you are an IT person like Rankard and you go in the midst of IT people and you go and wear a big suit and go and stand there, then you're not a true IT person. You're not authentic. Everything about you must represent you, the person, and the brand you stand for. So your appearance, your behavior, and your communication must all reflect what you are selling. If you don't look like what you are selling, first, they won't buy you before they buy what you are selling. But everybody thinks that there's one method, but I call it method in the madness. Every industry has a look, has a behavior, and has a communication. Every industry. IT has it, lifestyle has it, showbiz has it. Every industry. What we do is that we don't align those three with the right industry. So what we do is that you are a banker, but you are looking like a show business person, and vice versa. You have to be able to appear, behave, and communicate your business. And for those of you, you may not have heard this word before. There's something called multi-passionate or multi-passionate entrepreneur. It is that entrepreneur that sits back. If you've ever told yourself that I know I can do many things, I can't choose one thing. Business tells me we have to focus on your core business. Only focus on what you know. I don't know. How many of you have that struggle where you have more than one thing you can do very well? How many of you have that struggle? And once you know you can do all of those very well, not somehow well, exceptionally well, then you are what we call a multi-passionate. Don't worry about the fact that you can do so many things. What you need to find out is the core of that business. That's who I am. I am a coach. I'm an entrepreneur. I am a speaker, public speaker, paid public speaker. I also do work as a trainer. But the thing about it, in all of it, there's a commonality. I have a mission to take people to reach the life they desire. So find your mission and then execute them through your multi-passions. Don't let it bother you that you can do multiple things, but make sure that you are speaking the same language, which is the core mission. And finally, don't love the people in communication. Don't love the people who are sycophants and tell you how well you're doing. Love the people who tell you the truth, sometimes when it feels like it's to your detriment. What has helped me in my journey is some of the relationships. What has helped me are the relationships that have made me look and feel good. But what has helped me are the relationships of people, even today, that tell me, this way you are going is wrong. You would hate me. I'm not talking about the person who is going to say a naysayer. You need to be discerning. There's a difference between the naysayer and the advisor who's telling you the truth. Assess them by how you know them, how they know you. Sometimes the loves of our lives, our boyfriends, our girlfriends, our wives would tell us, and then you will not listen. Later, you will come back and say, oh, sana, okay. So please, engage people, engage them. And sometimes it would come from the most unexpected places. Some of my team members have given me the best ideas in the world. The housekeepers in my business, the security guys in my business, the assistants and the interns, they give me the best ideas. Don't ever throw away a negative comment at you because you think you are above them all. Everyone sitting here has a potential to be extraordinary. The only difference is ask yourself a few questions. What is your model? When somebody leaves you, how do you position yourself? Because it will happen. When you fail, are you willing to beg? Are you willing to be humble and go out there and work? Will you take criticism when it's the most necessary? Are you building for lifestyle or are you building for legacy? All the best.
Visit www.bellaniger.com for exclusive clips and updates on Under 40 CEOs.